Good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar on iPad video production for the flipped classroom. I'm your host, Michael George, representing the Graduate Admissions Office, and joining me momentarily will be Mr. Rob Zdrojewski, Adjunct Professor of Education Technologies and Emerging Media Programs at Canisius College. Thanks for attending today's webinar to learn more about iPad video production for the flipped classroom. Today's program will last a total of 45 minutes, which will include time for your questions. Mr. Z will moderate and demonstrate iPad screening apps such as Screencast, EduCreations, and Explain Everything. If you have questions, feel free to use either the question or chat features available to you, and we'll do our best to answer all your questions before the close of today's program. So without further delay, I present to you Rob Z. It's all yours, Rob.
Thank you, Mike. Hello, everybody. Rob Z from Amherst Middle School and from Canisius College here, bringing at you guys today some iPad video production for the flipped classroom. Now, as a 14-year teacher and 7th and 8th grade teacher at Amherst Middle School, I have evolved tremendously, not only what I teach, but how I teach it. And the biggest thing that's really changed my capability is pre-recording myself. In other words, making me the teacher on demand. I don't have to stand in front of 20-some kids, and some of them understand what I'm saying, some are really far high level, low level. Now they can put teacher on demand. You know, movies on demand, sports on demand. Now we have teacher on demand because you have the ability to replicate yourself digitally by using things like iPads and creating screencasts. So for the presentation today, I'm going to use a outline that I've created to keep me on track, but also to give you the links to everything that I'm going for. So I have 3 ways to have you guys get there right now. The first one is a direct link. I took the Google URL shortener, so if you want to type in goo.gl/ and then what you see after that, it is case sensitive. That's a direct link. Also, I believe in the chat area, Mike will put that link for everybody, if that's possible.
Correct.
Just copy and Okay, so you can grab the link in the chat box there. Or you can go right directly to my blog, which is what we were looking at a moment ago, robztraining.com. And here is the link right at the bottom, right there, to view my presentation outline. So whichever method you want to use, I'd like to make sure everybody has this document open so we're all looking at it together and we can refer back to links as we progress. So, first off is talking about what I do here at Canisius. I'd like to thank Canisius for giving me the opportunity to present this webinar. In our program called the EdTech and Emerging Media Program, there's really 3 different pathways you can go down. One is the short advanced certificate, which is just 501 through 504. 8-week courses can be done very quickly, and that's an option a lot of people like to go for if they're not going for the full master's degree. We have the Master's in EdTech non-certified path and the certified path. So in New York State, you'd be certified as a teacher with an expertise in the ed tech area. And my link number 2, I have a link to all the different graduate programs at Canisius. I should mention I am an alum because I finished my second master's degree, fully online program that Canisius has in ed leadership, in administration. And I finished that in fall of 12. And I was very satisfied being a online student that I thought, well, what would it be like to be an online instructor and kind of flip roles? So fast forward a few years and here I am teaching some of the courses in the EdTech program for Canisius. So when I start this this workshop, a lot of times I have to differentiate between the terms you'll hear a lot, which is screencast versus screenshot. Both of them involve what you're looking at right now, anything on the computer screen. But a screencast is a video, so you're seeing the mouse moving, you're hearing the narrator talking, and it's a true video that you can learn from a tutorial or a how-to video. Whereas screenshot would be just individual snapshots, just photographs of the screen, where sometimes then you draw arrows and draw little speech bubbles and things like that. Throughout my day-to-day role as a teacher, both working with students and working with teachers as a professional development leader, I use both. That's why I think I can't say one's better than the other. If you need to give something that's more of an elaborate presentation, a screencast is usually the way to go. But if it's just something like you need to show someone where a button is on the screen, making screenshots is a way to go as well. So I have a couple of stories to tell along the way. First one here being my jury duty story. A couple years ago, I was 33 years old. First time ever in my life called for jury duty. Never was called before. And so this time it wasn't just plain old jury duty, it was grand jury duty. And in Erie County here in New York State, that means it's a 1-month commitment for 3 days a week for 4 weeks. So it's very scattered. And imagine being a teacher this was about May, end of the school year. I had a lot of new projects. I did not want to be out of the classroom. I thought, how am I going to keep kids on task learning these tools and answering questions as they struggle through things sometimes. So that was my first foray into the whole world of recording myself and making screencast videos. Came across the program called Jing. Some of you may have heard of that from another webinar. And then I looked at Snagit and then Camtasia Studio. These are 3 different software products on their traditional platform on a Windows computer or Mac computer to record yourself. Then, fast forward a little bit more, the iPad becomes popular in schools. Now with this device that has a built-in camera, built-in microphone, and a touch interface, really brings it down to the average teacher, the non-techie teacher, to be able to record themselves, make videos of themselves for their students, for their parents, for fellow teachers. So that was my little jury duty story. If you actually click on the link that I have here, it'll take you to a video case study where they came out from Michigan and filmed us and interviewed my students and put a little 3-minute video together. So I encourage you, if you have the time, to take a look at that later. And then we were featured in a couple of national publications about what we're doing with our screencasting projects, with the Journal and the Hetchinger Report. And that had a lot to do with our kids, my students, my 7th and 8th graders, making videos that would train their teachers how to use Gmail and Edmodo and Google Docs and things like that. So it was really great to see the kids become experts at a digital tool and then turn around and take the role of a teacher and now encourage their other teachers to use them in their classes, which really helped to kind of spread the 21st century learning concept, to get people comfortable with it. And I have to say, it's all thanks to screencasting. So fast forward now a little bit more, and we have my authors and audiences little piece. Now, I am, as I already mentioned, a teacher, but I'm not the only person making these screencasts. It could be my students. It could also be administrators, professional developers. It could also be parents making things for teachers. So we're really talking about the creator, the author of a screencast could be any one of those 4 categories. Same thing now with the audience. The audience could be any 4 of those categories. You might have a teacher-to-teacher video, might have a student-to-teacher video, might have an administration-to-parent video, or any combination of those authors and audiences. So I'm going to do some demonstrations today with these 3 main apps that I'll be featuring, and I'll show those demonstrations from different vantage points so you can kind of start understanding the many ways that you could be making your screencasts to enable the flipped classroom approach and have teacher on demand or lesson on demand. Alright, so we're looking at our first iPad screencasting app, and that would be called Screenchamp. Now, the 3, as you can see, I'm going to feature here. There's plenty. There's hundreds of them probably out there by now, but these are the 3 popular ones that have been around for a long time. And I'm going to compare the 3 of them, kind of going from good, better, and best in a sense, or simple, intermediate, and complex. So Screenchamp is free. The major benefit here is it's very basic, not a lot of bells and whistles, and it's usually a good entry point for teachers that are new to this, that want to get their feet wet with recording their voice and showing something on the screen. Another advantage is there are no accounts needed, no logins are needed, so you yourself as the teacher don't have to create an account to use this. You can just get up and running right away. Same thing with the students. Maybe you're going to hand your iPad to that kid that finished early and ask them to make show us a good algebra video from the lesson we did today, and we'll share that out with the rest of the class. So you might just be handing that iPad to a kid literally to make a video in a matter of minutes. So I like Screenchamp because it does not require any registrations or logins or any passwords or things like that. So I'm going to do a demonstration here first, my algebra example, and I'm going to be a teacher in this role, being the author, and I'm making this for my students. It's probably the most common scenario when you're making a screencast. Now bear with me. What I'm going to do is switch over to an app called AirServer that I'm using, which is going to let you see, there you go, you're seeing a live shot of my iPad screen, which is just off camera here. So whatever I touch on the glass screen here, you'll see the exact thing in the camera here, if all goes well. So Screenchamp, we will launch that, and you will see the upper right hand corner. See if you guys can see my mouse okay. Draw and record. And we get basically a blank whiteboard canvas. Just like if you had maybe a smartboard or an old-fashioned chalkboard or whiteboard in your classroom, now you have the ability to use markers and draw and talk. So the basic premise is, if you look across the bottom, we have 3 different markers loaded up there. Got to make sure I don't hover over that. The red one I have right here is first, and you can see if you tap it, you get to choose from different colors, and you have 3 different marker sizes or thickness of the pen. So I have kind of a skinny red one, and I've got a medium-sized blue, and a really fat wide one that is purple. So you can touch and hold to change those at any time. So I'll switch back to the red one, and I'll just begin drawing. But before I do, notice in the bottom right-hand corner we have the big red record button. Simply tap that, and your voice is going to be recorded as you speak. So, practice this earlier. I got to think about what I'm going to do here, and alright, I'm ready to go. So I'm going to hit that red record button, and when I do, watch in the upper right-hand corner. You're going to see a little microphone icon that's going to show if it's picking up my voice okay. So here we go. Here goes our countdown. Hi everybody, it's Mr. Z, and today I want to show you how to do that math lesson we talked about. This is called algebra. And if we take 2x plus 2 equals 10, this is similar to that problem that we saw in class today. Well, I need to get that x on the left side all by itself. This one right here, I want to get that all by itself. So that means I got to get rid of the stuff that's over here that's not the x. So what we shall do is get rid of the 2. Remember, we have to do the easy stuff first. We can knock out that 2 completely and carry down now. Carry that down. So we have 2x equals 10 minus 2 is 8. Alright, so 2x equals 8. I was 8. 2 fingers down, upwards to give myself some more right to right. Now I want to get that x all by itself. So to do that, we have to divide by 2 and then knock it out. But remember, on one side, I got to do the other side. So now we have x equals 8 divided by 2. I can do that in my head. And that is my answer. X equals 4. So that is how we do that. Thank you for watching my Screencast, and have a good day. Alright, so I just hit the stop button in the bottom corner. I saw it was like about a minute and 8 seconds or so. Notice at the top it says Screencast and the date and the time right up here. I'm going to just change it real quick so I know what this was. And we'll call this my Thursday demo. Give it a title to whatever makes sense for you. Now I can hit that play button and we can hear it. Let's see if it plays for us here. I have to hit play. You know what, it might not work because I'm doing this through the webinar. It's on my end it's playing, but on your end you're not going to see it. So you would normally see it if you weren't doing a webinar demonstration like I'm doing right now, but you would see it play back. You'd be able to listen to your own voice talking and see if it sounds okay. If it's good, you can do bottom right hand corner, share it. If it doesn't, which usually the first try, most people aren't happy with it, bottom left corner, hit that trash can and it's gone. So let's say I've watched it and I've heard my voice and I'm happy with it. I'll hit the share button. What it's going to do is it's going to send it to cloud-based storage. As far as I know, this is unlimited. I don't know of any limits of like, I've probably never recorded for more than 5 minutes anyways, but you know, don't plan on making this a half-hour video. Usually John Bergman, one of the pioneers of flipped learning, says you can get about 1 to 1.5 minutes per grade level of student. So if you have a 5th grader, that would give you roughly a 7 to 8 minute maximum video anyways. So where I was going with that is it's being uploaded now. You can see the little guy's eyes are moving there. That tells you that. If I tap next to him here on this area, notice it says the cloud is preparing your video to share. So it's being uploaded right now in the background. And I actually sometimes can see a little spinning icon up at the top of the iPad that lets you know that it's being processed. But in a matter of about maybe 3 to 5 minutes or so, this will be done uploading, and then it will look like this. It'll have my title on it. Here's one I did earlier today. I'll just tap that so you can see that. And then I have the ability again to watch it. But right now I want to get this to a place where my students or my parents can see it. So here's one I did earlier today. So bottom center is the blue share button. With this app you have 3 options. So I got to move that off of there. You have the ability to copy the link. The benefit of that is it would copy a website link to the clipboard. And if you're familiar with the term clipboard on a Windows or a Mac computer, it's the invisible place on the computer where it stores a little snippet of information, a link. I could then go into any other app, such as my Edmodo app, or go to my email app, and then I can paste in that link and send it off to somebody. So I sometimes do that if it's kind of a one-to-one person thing. Or I can do the next one, which is email link, which will directly open up my email client, as you can see here. And now I can send an email to somebody or to many people and get the information to them. However, here's the catch. In my classroom, with the 20 iPads that I get to use, we don't have student email set up. So this doesn't work in every scenario. This would only work if the iPad you're using is set up with somebody's email account. If it's a teacher's iPad, might not be a big deal, but if it's a student use iPad where everybody's using it, a lot of schools are not comfortable with setting up email on those devices since they're a shared device. So just keep that in mind. That's something to be aware of. But you have your third option also. If you are a user of Twitter, you have the ability to tweet this as well. So any three ways to do it. And also bottom right hand corner, notice open in Safari. I could click that and it would just open this video now in the Safari and I could watch it in the web browser. So that's how we use ScreenChomp to create projects. What I want to do now, since you have seen that, is switch back over to our outline. And I have another demonstration that involves a photograph. Sometimes what you want to put in your screencast is not just your finger drawing on the screen. Sometimes you want photographs of actual things that you have taken pictures of. So this next example I'm going to show you is inserting the calendar photo. And this is, let's pretend I'm a teacher making this for parents this time, maybe for my classroom blog or my classroom website. So here's the workflow for that. Let's switch back over. I took a picture earlier of a calendar from my son's preschool class. So in the bottom left hand corner, I'm going to tap that button and notice it lets us do a variety of things. The thing I want to do right now is choose from my library a photograph that I have already taken with my iPad camera. And it is this one right here, the nursery school calendar. I can use my two fingers to pinch and zoom and move it around on the page. Let's say I want it to be right about there, and I hit done. And now it puts it on the canvas. So again, using two fingers, I can scroll up and down, but maybe the scenario that I'm coming up with here is I'm the teacher and I want to talk about that first week coming up in April. Rather than just send home the paper and have people interpret what's written there, I'm going to email the parents a video, this video that I'm making now, that would be able to have them hear my voice and have me specifically say things that I want to cover on each day. Things that are better to be used vocally, verbally, rather than just reading in text form. So I'm going to hit that record button, and here we go. Well, hello parents, it's Mr. Z, and I wanted to feature this first week in April where we have a lot of events coming up. On Tuesday, December 1st, I want you to notice our Discovery Days 4 is coming up, and 2:15 is the dismissal time, so that's a little bit different than most Tuesdays. On Wednesday, we have Spanish for those students that are involved in that, and Mrs. Jones, the Spanish teacher, wants to remind everybody to bring a coffee can to class that day for a project that they are working on. Thursday, we have the zoo field trip. Right now, we need 2 more chaperones, so if anybody is interested in that, we have spots for 2 more people. And remember to pack a brown bag lunch for that day. That's our updates for this week. Thanks for listening. All right, that was kind of weird because I was
hello parents, it's
making
Mr.
that
Z,
up
I wanted to
as I went.
This first week in April where we have a lot.
All right, and this time it's playing, so you could, I don't know if you guys could hear it or not, but it was playing there. So this is now a way to, instead of sending home paper or sending home an email with just text, send them a video. Let them hear the teacher's voice where, you can only learn certain things by reading them, but if you can hear them, it's more personal, it feels more human-like, and you can elaborate on things that are just simply on the page. So I would click on the share button now. It would be sending it up to the cloud, and notice the little number 1 icon there is telling me that there's a notification there. When I click that, it tells me with the little dot there that the Thursday demo I did a few minutes ago, that one's ready. And then the one I just did is ready right now. So I think you get the idea. I'm going to move on now to the next app since we've seen a good deal about this first one. So, and if you have questions as we're going now, please do leave them in the chat box there because we're going to address questions in a little bit towards the end here of the session. So my next one to bring to you guys is what I call the intermediate level. Once I get people to understand a basic whiteboard recording app, EduCreations is usually the next level you go to. It's also a free app, but here's the major benefit over the last one we just saw. Now you can have multiple pages or multiple slides. That could be helpful, and I'll do a demonstration in a minute, where you have different information on each slides. Kind of think of like PowerPoint slides, if you will, where you can have stuff preloaded and just keep moving along your lesson onto different slides. Other thing it has is text entry mode, so when your finger or if you're using a stylus just doesn't look nice and and neat. It has a text tool where you can use the keyboard and type in real nice, clean looking text. And for people like me that do not have very good handwriting, that's definitely a good thing. The other benefit that it has is web images. It has a built-in Google image search feature where I can say I need a picture of the human heart, and I can type in human heart, and then up comes a Google image search right in the app, shows me all a bunch of pictures that match that criteria, and I can quickly throw that in. So I'm going to demonstrate that too with our demonstrations here. So first one is for the math audiences out there, I'm going to be now a student making a video for fellow students. All right, so I'm not going to take the role of a teacher. Let's see if I can play a good role of a student here. This one's going to be about supplementary angles. So those of you that remember what that is might find this familiar. EduCreations is this middle app. It looks like that. Again, it's a free app, so it's definitely a good thing. But, this is the part that's a little different. You do have to create an account here. I'll show you the settings area. You can see I'm logged in already. So that will stop you. You'll get to the point where you make a screencast and now you're ready to share it, but it's going to force you to register. Not a big deal. It's free to do. You have to have an email account, though, tied to it. So that could be a little bit of a roadblock for students or teachers, in the flow of the moment if you have to stop and create accounts. So if you're going to do this, maybe in advance, prepare those accounts so that it doesn't become a roadblock as you're preparing. All right, so let's get out of settings. And up in the upper left-hand corner, we have New Lesson. We click the blue button, and here again we go with a plain whiteboard. We have our 4 different colors up here, and again just touch and hold to be able to change those colors. So that's for using our pencil or marker tools. And then we have the text tool that I'll show you in a little bit. We have the insert images and other graphics from there. And undo and redo, those are ones we didn't see on the last app either, which I kind of like here. You can go forwards in time and backwards in time by undoing and redoing. The eraser button is there, and the record button. So here's our example that we're going to do first. Let me remind myself again. Oh yes, supplementary angles. All right, so here we go. I will hit the record button. And here we go. Hi everybody, it's Mr. Z recording a video for you on supplementary angles. If you remember in class, we have 2 angles here in this example. I've got the orange one, and I've got the green one. One of them is bigger than the other. Now if you remember, 180 degrees is what we get when we go from here all the way to the other side there. We have 180. So we want to figure out, when we're breaking it right here, what is the distance in, let's call this one 1, and let's call that one 2. So we need to figure that out for homework today, and let's see if you guys can figure this out. I'm going to say that number 1 is going to be 132 degrees. So if you know that this side is 132, the question is now, what is this side? It's going to be a number that ties in nicely with this number so that we get 180. And if we write that in a 132 plus x equals 180. So that's the homework challenge for tonight. Let's see if you can do it. All right, and I timed that out, not even on purpose, but it came out to be exactly 1 minute. Now, if I wanted to continue talking, I still could. I could hit that record button again and continue going. So if the phone rings, if I know I'm going to sneeze, you can pause. You don't have to talk in one breath. Unfortunately, you can't really start over. I'm sorry, you can't just start over. You'd have to wipe the whole slate clean and start over. So that is a little bit of a deterrent for some people, because if you've been doing this for 5 minutes and suddenly now you realize that you made a mistake in the first minute, sorry, you got to scrap it and start over. So keep these small. My advice is always keep them just a few minutes long when you make screencasts like this. But my purpose of really doing this one is to show you guys. Let me go to another page. I went to the bottom right hand corner and I clicked next, and now you can see it says 2 of 2. So I can still go, here's page 1 and here's my page 2. I have the ability to go between slides now. I'm going to use this tool right up here, which is called the insert image area, and look at my options. I want to grab right now from the web and find a gotta spell it right, supplementary angle. And I hope I spelled it right. I think I did. We search it, there you go. There's a whole bunch of Google image search type. It might actually be a Google image search. I'm not sure what the app developer uses. But what I had in mind is here, and I wanted something like this, so that I can put this on the screen, this image. And using my fingers, I can pinch and zoom to make it just the right size. And now I, of course, can write on top of it. I can also use the text tool, which is the big T up at the top there. So watch this. I'll tap on T. It says tap anywhere to add text. I'll tap right here, and I'll say 126. Done. and I'm going to put those that number of degrees right here, and then I want to have a question mark. Maybe you would use an X. The math teachers would say, let's see, I'm going to use an X to be on this side. All right, now I'm not recording right now. I'm just setting the stage up to record. So if I'm ready to record and add on to that last minute that I did, I'll do that right now. Watch this. Record. Okay, so continuing on here, what I wanted to show you is on this example we have 126 degrees, and the other one, the supplementary angle that goes along with it, is the X. So in this case here we have 126 plus X equals, do you guys remember? Hopefully you do. That's right, 180. All right, I'm trying to add in a little bit of humor here, a little bit of personality. That's always a good thing to add into a screencast too. So you guys try that for homework, and let's see if you get it for tomorrow. Pause. All right, now let's say I'm all done with this video and I want to send it to my students. Maybe I made this on a planning period, maybe I did this before school, maybe I did this in the middle of class, or maybe this is that's right, I was supposed to be a student. I messed that one up. I was supposed to be a student making this for my fellow students. So let's say it's 6 o'clock, it's after dinner, I just made this and I want to send this to all my friends, and we all use Instagram, Facebook, you name it, social media of choice, and I want to share this out. I'm going to hit done, and I'll say save lesson. I have to give it a title of some sort. So I'm going to call this one Angles for now. And I'm going to say, who can view this lesson? My usual recommendation is make it public. Unless it's some sensitive information, make it public. Therefore, anybody in the world can watch it without having to log in first. That just takes away one of the barriers to getting to your video. The subject area, the purpose of this now is so that people that are going to the website educreations.com can search these categories and perhaps run into your video. So you're kind of like adding your video to the collection of stuff that's there. I believe that's geometry. I might be wrong about that, but let's just go with that. Hit save. And now it is uploading to the cloud as we speak. We don't get to see any indication that that's happening, but you just have to make sure that you're on a Wi-Fi connection or a data connection so that it can upload. So if I want to share that now, notice it put it right up here is my date and time stamped one. I'm going to use this familiar button to iPad users or iOS users, which is the export. Every one of these videos now that I've made, and it's nice that it saves it automatically, are now shareable in 4 different ways: Facebook, Twitter, email link, or copy the link. So you have that ability to get those projects out. All right, so let me see how I'm doing on time here. I'm going to stop in just a few minutes here for questions. My next app, though, that I do want to cover is explain everything. So you know what, before we get to that, one more example from EduCreations that literally was a yesterday example that I came up with, which is the word sort. This is more of an elementary school example that I want to feature. And we're just flying here. I thought I would have a little bit more time, but I guess I overplanned for what we have. So new lesson. Here's the use case scenario. Here's this the case study, if you will. Elementary school classroom. The teacher at my daughter, 2nd grade, has to do a word study where they have, I'm going to show you the image here so you can see it. I'm going to insert from photos, my camera roll. These are the words. Now anybody that has an elementary school student might recognize something like this. Basically there's 2 columns, and in this case it's the A in the word. So there's tablet versus tablet. So the A is a non-vowel sound. There's an official word for this. I'm forgetting what it is. And then the A here is baby, like A is in A and not A. So these words now, sudden, the U is instead of sudden or sudden, okay, it's sudden, so it's an sound. It doesn't sound like U, so it goes on the left column. Now, it was hard for me to understand all this now, so imagine what it's like for a parent not knowing what to do here, and the child comes home with this information. They need to know from the teacher, okay, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to carry this through at home? My idea is let's have the teacher make a video where they can explain exactly what's got to happen here, so that the parent can just watch a 2-minute video and understand, oh, okay, I see what you mean, because there's voice talking, there's someone talking. Trying to convey this through an email message or through just a printed out handout coming home in the folder is kind of hard to do. So I like the fact that you could record this and do it that way. So where I was headed with this, let me get another image here. I'm going to actually go to a new page, load this one up, and go to Photos and Word Sort. This is what my daughter had to do. So I'm going to make a video now as a teacher to a parent explaining this scenario. So here we go. Hi parents, this is Mr. Z, your child's teacher, and I wanted to show you on our writing start that we're going to begin doing the week of September 5th. This is an example from a student from last year, and notice that we have at the top the headers, which would be in this case baby and tablet. We want to focus on the letter A, if I can point to it right there, because the letter A is important as it's the vowel, and it depends on how it is pronounced to know if we put it on the left side or the right side. So I'm going to use a different color here and show you the word fever. The E in fever is fever, like E, not eh, but E. So that slight difference between eh or E depends on which side it goes on. It goes on, I'm doing a horrible job here. It goes on this side because it is sounding like how you pronounce the letter. You pronounce it letter E and you have fever instead of fever. So that's why it goes on the right side. So we'll do more activities with this. I just wanted to give you an initial heads up on it, and that's what we'll do each week. Thanks for watching. Okay, so I did a horrible job there because I'm making it up as I go, but I think you get the idea. We now can have these types of videos made where we hear the teacher's voice or the child's voice and get to understand what we see because we're having a multimodal presentation. We can see it, we can hear it, and it helps us to learn something better that way. Alright, so I'm going to finish up now with this app and show you the last app, which is called Explain Everything. Major benefits here. Besides the fact that it is a paid app, sometimes that's a problem for schools. It's $3. However, in the volume purchasing program, schools can get apps when they buy 20 or more for half price. So this really could be about only $1.50 per iPad in school situations. But here's the major advantages. Export and import capabilities. You can bring in video clips. You can export out to the camera roll. So that's something you can't do with the other two free apps. That for me was the big reason why I went to Explain Everything, to dabble with that, because now I can export whatever I make to the camera roll. Once it's on the camera roll on the iPad, you can do a number of things with it. So it's not really locked into just one particular app. Other advantages here is we have the live webcam feature, so you're going to see me put myself picture-in-picture window like I'm doing here in the webcast in the video itself, and I can use video clips, and I can bring in a live web browser. So maybe I want to show web pages or demonstrate something from the web. I can do that in my screencast. Now I have an example from Dr. Kotlik, who's one of our I call him Dr. Ron. He's also a adjunct professor here in the EdTech program, and his example, if you guys click on it, you can check it out on your own, shows you how to use that live web browser feature. I thought he did a really good job with that, so it's like a 2-minute video. I put a link there if you guys want to check that out sometime. But my demonstration today, let's make me a science teacher, and let's say I'm going to talk about the bone structures in the hand. And because I want to see my hand, I'm going to use the picture-in-picture effect here for video. So here we go. Here's my workflow. I launch the app. You can see let me switch. Alright, you can see I started one already. I'm going to go up here to the plus sign to make a new project. I get to choose a little template. And we have that blank recording canvas. I want to bring me in there because this app has that live camera feature. So using this button right here, I'm going to insert now, let's think here, a new video. But it's a new live video, and in fact, there I am. I have my little two-finger pinch to put myself on the screen. Let's dock me up in the corner here somewhere so you can see me on the screen as I make my screencast. I think that's a nice personal touch where you can see the person talking to you. Then I want to bring in a photograph. So I'll touch that same button I had before. This time I'm going to bring in an existing photo or video. And I'll go to my camera roll. And I'm going to choose this hand picture that I grabbed from a Google image search. Alright, and I'll say done. Now I can move it around, kind of set the stage here before I record. And I think I'm ready. So bottom here again, there's that record button. Anytime you see a red circle, you know that that means record. And of course we have slide 1 of 1. So this one does have multiple page capability if you needed to set the stage like that. Alright, so let's hit that record button and let's go for it. Hello class, it's Mr. Z, and today in science class we talked about the bones in the hand, known as the phalanges. Now in these fingers that I have and that we all have, there's different segments, and those segments, as you can see in my image here, which I'm going to highlight, are different colors because we have the distal, the intermediate, and the proximal. And you'll see that in a lot of different science terms, that those mean near, medium, and far, those terms. And in this case, they're meaning the parts of the bones. So I want you to study those for Friday's test because we will be having a quiz on what those mean. Another side note here, if you've ever heard of carpal tunnel syndrome and you knew that had something to do with the wrist, well, the carpals, as you can see right here, are actually the bones. See if I can zoom in here. Those are the bones that are all located really close together there. And the problem is if those get very fatigued, people experience pain there, especially when they're typing on keyboards all the time. So that is what we're going for Thursday's quiz. Thank you for watching and have a great day. All right, I stopped it there. It was about a minute long. So I could hit play and you got the video playing back.
Hello class, it's Mr. Z,
There it
and
is.
today in science class.
Another nice thing is you can tap on the time code and look at this. I can use my finger now to scrub back and forth here throughout, and I can see indications of when I drew stuff. That's what these little blips here on the second line are whenever I circled something. So if I made a mistake somewhere or the phone rang, I could just say, well, from this moment right here, start recording. I'll hit record and it says start recording will replace, I'll overwrite what I recorded. So I'll kind of like record over it, if that makes sense. So that's a feature you couldn't do in the other two apps that I showed you guys earlier. So this one is very advanced, a lot of bells and whistles. It'll take some time to learn all those features. The secret here of how I learned it, I'll show you in a moment here on the home screen, is to read the book. They actually have a nice iBook that the company created to learn all the features. Big feature though is, let's say I wanted to get this video out. Right here is the button to export. So I would tap that and look at that. I can export this movie to either my camera roll, which is nice and very versatile. I can send it directly to YouTube, or I have the more option where I can send it to a variety of different places, such as Dropbox, Evernote, Google Drive, you name it, a whole bunch. So that's really one of the great things about this app, is that you can import and export to a lot of different places. All right, wrapping things up now, I want to get to questions in about 2 minutes, so I just want to give you the last little bit I have here on our outline. Where to store your screencasts in the cloud. You have options. If you are using the EduCreations or ScreenChomp apps, you're kind of locked into only using what they have provided, which is their cloud storage. But if you're using the third one I showed, Explain Everything, you have more options on where you store them. Google Drive is another place that you can put things. YouTube, SchoolTube, I use all of these. And some options or some limitations might exist, like YouTube might be filtered in your school. So that's why SchoolTube works well for us to get around that. And there's even a new option called TechSmith Relay, and I encourage you to click on that link and learn more about it. That's what we would call an institution-wide, like a whole building-wide or a whole district-wide solution, where all the teachers and all the students can make screencasts and have a place to store them. And all they need to know is where that big red button is to record. It's kind of like DVRing your class. That just came out about a month ago, a new version of this TechSmith Relay. I've been playing with it and I'm very excited about it. So if you subscribe to my blog, you'll probably see more posts coming out like that as we discover real cool ways to use that and other things too. So I do encourage you to subscribe through email to my blog. Accessing your screencasts, I demonstrated a lot of these today. You can email those direct links to people. You can place on a web page or a blog. My little example here actually shows my teacher blog that I use. I dropped in a video, this one, a screencast video, right onto a blog post. And that seems to be one of the easiest ways for me to get stuff out there for people to see. Not necessarily people that I have to have their email addresses for. I just send them to my blog and they can check it all out there and subscribe and whatnot that way. We use Edmodo at Amherst for all of our classroom stuff in my class, and a lot of other teachers do too. So that's another place to store them. And you can take a look at my lesson plan format, if you will. When I have my students do our technology-based projects, a lot of teachers have liked this kind of format. You create a Google Doc, 2 columns, and on the left-hand side, these are all links. The play buttons are links to videos that they can watch and see the screencasts like the ones we made today. Or on the right-hand side, of course, they can see what's involved in each step to do a particular project. So that I just wanted to feature at the end there. All right, so we're at the point now, Mike, where we can do our questions and wrap-up. I'm going to leave it to you to send them to me.
Okay, so I'll encourage everybody. You've been great and attentive, and take advantage of this opportunity to post your questions using the questions box. And then as I see them coming in, I will direct them to Rob, and we'll get a quick response to you. So feel free to use that question box now, and we'll take care of everybody's questions. I thoroughly enjoyed the presentation just being on this end of it myself, Rob. I
Thank
was
you.
just diligently absorbing it and taking some notes for myself.
Very good. Thank you. Yeah, I feel like there was a lot more I could have covered, but I didn't want to. I wanted to make sure we stayed within our allotted time. But really, once you get your feet wet with this kind of thing, you start realizing like, oh, I could use it for that, and oh, instead of me repeating myself for this part of my lesson, why don't I just make a video? Or then the whole flipped classroom approach is, why don't I make the video before we get to that point, so that when they come in the class, we can just go right to work and not have to do the lecture part in class. So I think it takes the right kind of attitude and belief that, okay, this is something I should invest in. I should try to learn an app. I should download and make my first screencast and see how it goes. Don't beat yourself up if you don't sound the way you think you would sound. I call it the 1980s answering machine effect. When in the 1980s, when we all got answering machines and we listened to our voices after we recorded a message, we were like, oh, that's how I sound. And I still see that today when kids make screencasts. They're like, oh, I didn't think I sounded like that. But I tell them that it sounds normal to the rest of us. It just sounds, different to yourself. So take that first step is the best advice I can give.
Sure. I thought about when you were doing the example of the short and long vowels and how when homework assignments like that came home for our kids, how it would have been so helpful to have had a little video clip to hear that teacher explaining exactly what they wanted us to do, because sometimes those 3 or 4 sentences at the top of that worksheet just don't do it well enough.
That's right.
Hearing somebody would have done everything. So we're not getting questions at this point. We're essentially getting just a lot of thank yous and praise.
Okay.
Here's one question that has just come in. Can you make some suggestions for Android devices? Also, free solutions for desktop screencasting like Camtasia. However, there is a $300 cost to that.
Well, I have to the first part of that, the Android. I'm not anymore a familiar user of Android. I used to have an Android smartphone, but then I switched to the iPhone platform. So there are apps out there. If you search the Google Play Store, you're going to find that it's going to need to be a tablet, a 6, 7, 8-inch tablet or larger. The smartphones usually do not have any screencasting apps because of the small screen space. So an Android tablet might have an app. I don't know if particular names for them, but that would be screencasting app would be what I would search in the Google Play Store. The other question, if we're talking about the traditional devices, if we're a desktop or a laptop, Windows or Mac, my advice is to look at Snagit. That's actually my day-to-day use. That's what I use to make my screencasts. The Camtasia Studio piece that I heard the $300, that's only for regular retail non-educator price. If you're a teacher or a student, you can buy it at the discount price of, I believe, $179. Sometimes there's promos for $99. Sometimes even for $99 you get Camtasia and Snagit together, which usually is Snagit is a $39 program. I think $29 if you're an educator. So when we talk costs, I've had teachers at our high school that wanted to jump right in, math teachers that wanted to jump in. I suggested Snagit. They went out and bought the educator's copy for $29. And they did that after a month went by, because you can download any of the TechSmith products free for 30 days, fully functional, to try it out and make sure it makes sense for you. And in fact, a lot of my students will do that too when we're working on our projects. They'll just download a free copy of Snagit, use it for the 30 days, and then after that, sometimes they buy it because they realize it's a great tool to have on their computer. But there are free ones out there. There are ones that run completely in the web browser that use Java. I think Screencast-O-Matic is one of them, and Screener might be another one. And Ron covered those a couple weeks ago on another Canisius webinar. The only problem with that is if you're on a school computer, Java might be blocked by your system administrators. In our school it is, so I can't rely on that to work. But if you're on a home computer, you're unrestricted, then it might not be a problem. But my recommendation is to check out for sure the TechSmith products, either Jing or Snagit, to make quick little under 5-minute video screencasts.
Great, thank you. Any other questions, folks? We're here till we finish these questions. And again, mostly just words of praise and thanks for a job well done, I see here.
Okay. And
sometimes when the presentation is so complete, it answers all the questions.
Oh, very good. And I was going to say I will leave the link up to this document, of course, so it'll be living forever in the world of Google Docs. So if people want to just keep accessing that in the future to get the links and such, they can do that. They can also make sure everybody knows in a Google Doc. Looks like I have to minimize this. Make a copy for yourself so you can put your own notes on it, which would mean, let me get back to editing mode here. All right. So under File, and then make a copy. Anybody can do that on any Google Doc, and now you have a carbon copy for yourself, and you can write all over it and change stuff. And that's usually what I forgot to mention that in the beginning. That's kind of a good tip to make a copy for yourself so you have a permanent copy of your own. But the use of the Google Docs seems to be a great way to get links across to people too. So just as a side note, if anyone's not really familiar with Google Docs, I would say to investigate that, because I no longer use Microsoft Office or Microsoft Word for about 3 years now, because I've totally gone into the world of Google and I would never look back.
And just so you know, whether you registered and attended today's webinar or simply registered, everybody gets a link in an email message to this presentation, so you'll be able to watch it again or watch it for the first time if you didn't get a chance because of some scheduling conflict.
Very good. And I'll put it up on my blog here as well within the next couple of days.
Great, thank you. Any final questions as we wind down and wrap things up for our presentation today? Okay, so in closing, I'd like to thank our presenter. Rob did a great job, and just one comment after another, thanking you for a job well done and a very interesting presentation. As Rob said earlier, he's an adjunct professor in our Ed Tech program here at Canisius, and his presentation, I think just by virtue of the fact that there have only been a couple of questions, is a tribute to how well he presented and no doubt anticipated the kinds of questions you might ask. So I'd like to thank him. I'd like to thank you as well for attending today's webinar. If you're a prospective student, good luck as you continue to explore your educational options. We'll look forward to hearing from you, or perhaps even seeing you on campus soon. And our fall term starts Monday, August 25th, so keep that date kind of squirreled away. So thank you again, and thank you, Rob, and have a good night, everybody.
Thank you. You too.